name is Kayla, and I am an expat. I am a mom. I'm a wife. I am a businesswoman. Ooh, that sounds fancy. I'm a freelancer. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm here to just share my experiences with you guys to see what if you guys have similar experiences, and yeah, see where it goes from there. I basically have just lived something that every step of the way I've been looking to see if anybody else is going through the same thing and finding different voices, and so I've decided to be that voice for someone and just talk to y'all. I want to make some friends basically. So today we're going to be talking about, I guess, the first step, how I built a life here in Spain. So we'll go through how I got here, and then we'll move into what I did after that. So I hope that you find this valuable. If you enjoy the type of things that I'm talking about, I mean, I'm not gonna be all over the place, but I mean, I'm a human being. I'm multifaceted, and my YouTube channel will be as well. So we'll be talking about my experience with entrepreneurship, my experience with being an expat, my experience with being a mom, and lifing here. So we will cover it all, honey. And we'll also be talking about my hobbies because I'm a pole dancer and my friends are tired of me talking about it. So I'm coming to the internets for it. So today, let's just focus in. Let's hone in on one thing, and that one thing is, yes, how I built my life here in Spain. I've been here since 2016, and that would make 8 years in September. So that's a very long time. I don't know. I feel like when I can say I've done anything for 8 years, that makes me feel so old because I don't think I realize that I'm old. So I'm like, wow, I've done something for 8 years. That's crazy. But yeah, so I moved here 8 years ago, and when I decided to do it, how did I get here? Where do I start? Let me look at my little notes, my handy dandy notebook. I've been here since when? Oh, okay, so I remember now how I got here. So I got here by doing a language assistance program, or an auxiliary program, and that's basically just where you go into to the public schools here, or I think some of them are private. You go into schools here, like elementary, middle school, high school, and you prepare lessons to help the students be exposed to English on a native level. And so, yeah, let me get into it. So before I even started thinking about moving to Spain, honestly, Spain was never on my radar. I was looking into moving to a different country, a Spanish-speaking country, but all of the countries that I was interested in were in Latin America, simply because I'm from Texas and I knew a bunch of Latin Americans. I didn't know anybody from Spain, so I'd forgotten about Spain, quite honestly, as an option. And so I started by just kind of doing research to see how I can get to these other countries. And a lot of the programs that I was finding were study abroad programs where you're basically paying money to go to this country and maybe take like a couple of classes that count toward your credits toward your degree. And like that's it. I guess you just like hang out there. The issue is I've been working since I was 14 years old. So the idea of paying money to go and exist in a different place and that's it, like, was just kind of not an option for me. I was working full time and going to school full time. So I feel like that's a great option if you haven't like already gotten into the real world of like, the hustle of working full time and supporting yourself and having bills and stuff. That's a great option if you can do that, but that's not what I wanted, and that's not even the experience I wanted. I wanted to work in a different country. I wanted to be able to work in a different country. I wanted to be able to experience what real life is, to experience what real life could be in these different countries, and I don't feel like you get that in a study abroad program. I couldn't verbalize that at the time. I just knew I needed to work while I was wherever I was. I needed to be making money. So I kind of, I was really obsessed with that for a while, and I really tried to find programs, and I just didn't. And so I kind of just put that on the back burner. I let it go by the wayside, and I continued on studying and working. My last semester of college, I actually ended up taking a class on. Oh, by the way, my degree is in Spanish language, um, and so I ended up taking a class that was like I don't remember the name of it, but it was Spanish history, or I should say the history of Spain through literature and art. So it was specific to Spain, which I'd never taken any classes about Spain. Through my degree, I'd taken classes on culture, Mexican American culture, or Latin American culture or politics, but nothing to do with actually Spain. So that was my first time even being exposed to the concept of Spain. I knew it was a country. It was just, I don't know why I don't know, that just wasn't something that I considered. I mean, I know why. I was in Texas, like I said. The culture that Spanish speaking people that you meet is generally not people from Spain. But yeah, that last year, Spain was all over my radar. So I ended up taking that class. I ended up having a roommate. So I rented out one of my rooms in my apartment. I used to do it for Airbnb. And then my friend told me, hey, we've got someone coming in to do some sort of program for the college. She was like, she worked in a lab or something at the college. And so she had like an intern coming in from Spain. And she wanted to know if I wanted to rent my room out to him. And so I ended up having a Spanish roommate in the same year that I ended up taking a class about Spain, which to me is just like kismet. But yeah, so I took that class, taking this class, going great, learning a lot. Yeah, good stuff. Lorca, Goya, good times. And then our teacher one day is like, oh, by the way, we're gonna have somebody here from the embassy, the Spanish embassy, and they want to talk to you guys about a program where you can like go and live in Spain. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like the whole idea of like living in a Spanish speaking country was just kind of so far removed at that point, because I just kind of gone on with life, that it really didn't like, it was interesting, but I wasn't like, oh, this is gonna be the moment that I can do this thing that I've been wanting to do for so long. And so I was just like, oh, cool. I'll go to that. I'll go to the meeting. And then she set the time of the meeting, and the time of the meeting was at the time that I had another class. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to the meeting. It was just that easy. And then I went to class, that class that I had at the time of the meeting that day. And when I go to the class, on the door is a sign that says, class is canceled. And I was like, oh, cool. I guess I'll go to the meeting. And I went to the meeting and my life changed. It's just so crazy to me, like how something so, first of all, like how everything aligned, but also just I was very nonchalant about it. Like I was not aware for a long time that like I was doing something big for my life, But yeah, I went to the meeting and then I was here for 8 years. So it was a big moment. And so I go to this meeting and they're just telling us about the language assistant program where you work like 12 hours a week and you get a stipend from the government that should be enough to like support you, which I'm gonna do a video about language assistance programs because that's a whole different thing. But I will say that like I was making like 700 euros a month from the program, and depending on where you are in the country, that's enough to like for you to survive. Now, if you want to like do things on top of that, then you might need to figure out a second source of income. But yeah, anyways, that's beside the point. So yeah, everything sounded good. I would be working, which is the main point. I didn't need to be making $1 million, but I'd be working and earning some sort of income to support myself, and I'd be living in this country to immerse myself in the language. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And so I applied for the program, super nervous. I was such a nerve-wracking, like, I don't know, month or so. I applied for the program pretty late. Like, it wasn't like I was waiting for the applications to open to apply, which is what I would have been doing had I been informed about this sooner in the year. But yeah, so I applied relatively late, and so I had to wait like a month or two before I found out that I was accepted to the program. and that I was moving to Spain. And oh my gosh, like thinking about it brings me back to like the feeling that I was having back then. And it was just like this sense of like disbelief. Like I would say it and I would tell people that I was moving to Spain. I felt like a crazy person. Like, bitch, what are you talking about? You're not moving to Spain. You keep telling people this. You're driven. But it was true. I was actually moving to Spain. I just didn't believe it myself. So I, pack my shit up, sell most of it because like I said, I had an apartment. Like I was living by myself, and so I had the whole process of like getting rid of all of my stuff, which is a very hard and emotional process. Even if you just got a bunch of junk, like selling away all of your stuff. I know it shouldn't be synonymous with selling away your life, but that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. So I did that whole process and just sold my car. I sold everything that I could, and that financed my flight to Europe. I met there was like an auxiliary Facebook group or something, and I don't know if I put like I'm looking for black girls here or what, but I was definitely looking for black girls who were also going in this program. I don't know if I put that, but maybe just the fact that I posted and I look like this like attracted all the black girls. But yeah, so I found a roommate through posting on Facebook, another black girl who was from New York, and we met up in New York and we flew over to France. Spent a couple of days in France, I think. Oh no, we spent a couple of hours in France, then we spent a couple of days in Barcelona, and then we came to our city, which was Saragossa. Where is Saragossa? What is Saragossa, you ask? That's the same question that I had. I was like, what's a Saragossa? Saragossa is like the fifth, it balances between the fifth and fourth largest city in Spain, and I knew nothing about it. It's in the region of Aragon. I don't know if you guys know like the Queen of Aragon. I think that's like the one who financed Columbus to come and terrorize the Americas. That's like all I had heard. Like the Queen of Aragon sounded familiar to me. Why? I don't know. Does that sound familiar to most people? I don't know. But yeah, so I didn't know nothing about this place. The program, like you just kind of like put in your preferences. I didn't put in this region as my preference, but I guess actually it makes sense that they put me here because I chose like Madrid, and then I chose La Rioja and País Vasco, or Basque Country and Rioja, and those two are both like in the northwestern region, and Zaragoza is like right below those. So geographically speaking, it does make sense that they put me here. I assume that they didn't have space in the other three places that I chose. And I chose Basque Country and Rioja because I did culinary arts before. I studied culinary arts before I went to university, and those are the two regions that are known for like, well, one's known for food and the other one's known for wine. And so I was like, well, I'll choose those. I studied La Rioja and Basque cooking, so yeah, that was the top choice for me. Anyways, yeah, I got here, and life was a struggle at first. You have to try and figure out how to find a flat here, and it's not like, I guess it depends on where you are in the United States, but in Texas, like if you want a flat, you want an apartment, you just like go into the front office of that apartment complex, you apply, you get it, or you don't, and that's it. But here, everything is privately owned. Everything is owned by somebody, by some person, and you have to like apply, hope that they like you, hope they allow you to stay in their flat, and it's a little bit more personal, and that can get difficult, especially as a black girl living here. But I've been very grateful and very blessed in finding like oh God, what's the word? I'm the tenant. They are the landlords. I've had great landlords, so I've been very lucky in that sense. So yeah, how did I survive when I got here? Like I said, my stipend was like 700 euros a month. That was enough. In 2016, that was enough to survive. Like, that was enough to survive. If you didn't want to do anything else and you just kind of wanted to hang around the city, like, you'd be fine. You're not going to thrive on 700 euros a month, but you can survive. for a single person, right? No kids, nothing like that. But I wanted to do other stuff. I wanted to travel in Europe, which mind blowing how much more access you have to the world when you're in Europe as opposed to when you're in the United States. Geographically speaking, it's just that everything is so much closer, right? Like even Europe is smaller than the United States, so I can visit all of Europe relatively easily in comparison to trying to visit all of the states from Texas, and so don't even talk about trying to visit other countries from the United States. It's expensive and they're far. So yeah, I've got a lot more access to these countries and I wanted to travel them. So I decided to do private classes on top of working as an auxiliary. So I would be working in the schools in the mornings until like 3 o'clock. And then in the afternoons, I would go ahead and do some individual classes with students who wanted extra support. I think I was making maybe like, I have to do the calculations again, but like at least 1,000, maybe like 1,200 a month with everything, and that was enough for me to live and to travel and to kind of enjoy. I mean, I wasn't rolling in the dough, but it was enough for me to have experiences, and that's what I needed. I didn't need a whole bunch at that time, so it was perfect. Okay, so that's pretty much how I got here. Let's talk about like why am I here still, like 8 years later? And I'm still, yes, in the same city that I didn't know anything about when I started. So yeah, I got here in September of 2016 and I got on the little Tinders to see what was happening, to see what dating was like here. And really, I didn't have any, I honestly was like, I'm gonna get on there to like meet people because I didn't know how to start meeting people, and I really didn't know how to start meeting people like from here outside of the auxiliary program. And so I decided to get on Tinder, and I went on like 1 date, 2 dates, 3 dates. I'm gonna marry him. That's basically what happened. I met my now husband in November of that same year. I don't know how. I wasn't trying. I feel like when I say this, people wouldn't believe me, but I really wasn't trying to like, like marriage was not something that I was like looking for. I wasn't looking for the person I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with, and it just happened. And yeah, it just happened, and I'm not complaining about it at all. So yeah, that worked out. So that was one big one. He was willing to travel around with me or whatever, because I was still not sure about like what I wanted to do after this. Like, I should probably mention that when I moved here to Spain, I was graduating from college. Like, I literally got here in September and I didn't get my degree. They had the graduation in December of 2016, so I didn't walk for my graduation. If you know about the graduation anxiety, like having to figure out what the fuck you're doing with the rest of your life after that. And so I was really just kind of like, what am I doing? Like, what is this? I graduated from college and I'm just like lollygagging in Spain. What do I do next? And honestly, that question lingered in my mind for years, before I figured out like what I wanted to do next. Not that you have to figure out what you're gonna do for the rest of your life, which is the cause of all the anxiety. I guess I realized that I don't have to figure out what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I need to figure out what I'm doing now and how it's gonna get me to what I want my life to look like at some point, right? Anyways, so I was dealing with all of that, trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life and doing it from this foreign country, and having started this relationship that for some reason I was 100% sure was the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And so trying to figure out how to include him and include what he wants and all of that. I considered going to Korea, because once I got here, I actually realized that the language assistance program is offered in a lot of countries. So this is something that you want to do. I don't have information on how to do it in other countries, but you should definitely look into it, because being a native English speaker is highly valuable right now. That's not going to last forever, but in 2016 it was valuable, and we'll see how long that lasts. Maybe like another 20 years, something like that. And I say it won't be valuable forever because with these programs, like there will be more native English speakers around the world to where they don't need Americans or British people coming in to teach them the language. So, and also maybe English won't be the most popular language anymore. I'm betting on Mandarin Chinese, but what am I? Who am I to say? You know. But I know here, like for example, ahora, for example, now English is the big thing, and people want to make sure their kids know English. But a generation or two ago, I think a generation ago, like when people my age were in high school, they were learning French with the same precedent. So things change. As much as I think it's hard for us to imagine like English not being like top dog, things do change. I digress. So I met my husband here. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, like what not that I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. It was like, what are you getting at? Like, what is it that you want ultimately? And those are such big questions. Good Lord. Anyway, so those would pop up every now and then, and I was like, let's just go get tapas, you know? And I did a lot of that. I did a lot of traveling, and after 4 years, I did the language assistance program for 4 years here. Going into 2020 was my last year of doing it, right? 2020? No, 2021 was my last year of doing it. Yeah, okay. So my last year doing the program was 2021. So that's 2020-2021 school year. My language assistance career was about 5 years. In that time, I will say that it was about 50-50 as far as my experience. It was like actually a very clean line of 50-50, like having 2 years of really good experience and 2 years of really not great experience, and then like one that was just kind of mediocre, you know? So yeah, it was pretty spot on with 50-50. So the program is not perfect. The program is not a career. The program is a means to an end. And I think because I had that in mind, as opposed to thinking like this is the start of like my career as an auxiliar, and knowing like I'm doing this program because I want to live in a different country, not because I want to do this program. I wasn't like super highly bothered by the faults of the program. I mean, I say that now, like I'll say it was a net positive now looking back, but there are times where I was pissed, like when I was getting paid late, or when like a teacher the few times where like teachers really let me down. It was really frustrating, very, very frustrating. But like I wasn't taking nothing home with me. Like I would just go home and get tapas. Like I'm in Spain, and wine is like $3 here, so I was good. But yeah, so I did the program. It was a great experience. I can say out of everything that I experienced, the good, the bad, the ugly, I would say it was a great experience for me because it got me where I needed to be. And at the end, I don't remember how it ended. How did I end my? Oh yeah, I got pregnant. That's how I ended my experience with that. So I'll go back to like 2019. I got a full-time job in the school year of 2019-2020. I got a full-time job for a company working remotely, a company in the United States working remotely here from Spain. And so like that was the dream, baby. Like I was like, oh, I'm making American dollars in Spain. Yeah. Like that's what I had that as like my goal for a long time, or not even a goal, like just a dream. I remember saying it so many times, like I just need like to be making American income while living here. Like that's where it's at. But I was working 9 to 5 for a company, an office. Well, it was a remote, so an office job, and yeah, 9 to 5 in the US, in Texas. So that means that it was 4 p.m. here until midnight here. And in the mornings, I was going to 2019-20. Yeah, I was going to work as an auxiliary in the mornings. Um, I did not enjoy that. I didn't enjoy it, like, even though it made me financially very comfy for a minute, I did not enjoy that at all because I moved to Spain, and the things that I started to value about, being outside of American culture was having work life balance and being able to actually enjoy life as a priority as opposed to my priority in life being working. And all of a sudden, I was working two jobs, and one of them was eating away at all the time I would have to like live my life, which is the one that was in the evening. Actually, it's just because I had two jobs that was the problem. And one of them was 40 hours a week on top of the other one that was 12 hours a week. So it wasn't good for me. Like, mentally, emotionally, I was not good. And the type of work that it was I was a bill collector. So, like, if you've been a bill collector, some people, there's people in there that were like fantastic at this job, and that's great. But the things that were difficult for me and not good for me was like bill collecting in general. Like, it's just not fun. Like, you're telling people that they owe bills, and it doesn't make you feel good, and maybe that doesn't matter to some people, or they don't feel anything about it, but I feel all the feels all the time. So I didn't feel good. It was a lot of negative energy that I was just like living in. And then also, I don't like sales, and it's very much like a sales job because you've got like goals of how much you can collect or that you should be collecting every month. And that was I think about going back into like my memories has got me feeling the feels, and let me tell you that is just like a wave of anxiety thinking about that. That might be when my anxiety really onset when I started being a bill collector. So I left that job, and I decided that I wanted to start my own business. I decided that I was going to start doing I went to do cooking classes in English. So, everybody's like, you're trying to learn English. And so instead of just sitting down with someone and being like, okay, can you conjugate this word for me? I wanted them to be doing something that was interesting and doing it in English so that they're actively learning, or maybe it's passively learning. I don't know, motivated to learn. That's what I wanted them to be. So I did that. I did a business plan. I got financing for it. I think I might be messing up the sequence of events here. I started that. What did I start that while the pandemic was happening? Oh yeah, if it was 2019, 2020, yeah, I would. Oh, okay. I think I quit my job, that job that I that kept me financially comfy but mentally uncomfy. I quit that job in February of 2020. Yeah, February of 2020. Good timing. Good timing. And then, my goal for that was to start this business. And then the pandemic hit, and then I had this idea, and I didn't know how to do it because now, like, I was thinking about trying to get like a physical location, so that I could have a place to do cooking classes. And now I'm like, okay, I have to do something else. I ended up doing cooking classes online, and with me doing them online, it could have gone pretty well, actually. I think that could have gone pretty well, but I realized I didn't like it. So I tried a thing, I did not enjoy that thing, and then I decided to do something else. Why did I do that? Cooking is like a passion for me. It's like a love for me, and it's something very close to my heart. And I have never understood this before. I have a friend who's like a fantastic singer, and she's a fantastic artist. She's just like good at everything artistically. And I remember so many times I've told her, like, you should like monetize this. You should make a business out of this or that or whatever of the things that you're so good at. And she's told me that she doesn't want to monetize her art. And I was like, why not? Like, money. Why not? Money. And, she just didn't want to like ruin it and not be able to enjoy it anymore. And I had no idea what the heck she was talking about until I started doing the cooking classes and realized exactly what she was talking about. That it was kind of, that if I continued to do this, that I wasn't going to be able to enjoy my love for cooking. So that's just not how I wanted to express my passion for cooking, and I decided to let that go. And then I just decided to bask in the Rona. Yep. Oh, not in the Rona. That sounds bad. No, no, no. I decided to just live my what was it called? Oh, I decided to live my quarantine life filled with YouTube and Netflix and anxiety and depression and lots of books. And I just took some time to, I guess, to do that, or I took some time and did that. That's probably the better way to say that. And then I got opportunities to work for some businesses because I had some friends that were in mental health care. And as I just mentioned, with the anxiety and the depression, mental health care was booming during the quarantine. So they needed help, and I helped them with administrative duties and just kind of managing their businesses. And with that, I'd been doing that. This was like so insignificant in my mind that I didn't even mention it in my story, but I'd actually been doing like virtual assistant jobs since I got here, and it just gave me a little extra cash here and there. But it wasn't something that I really thought too much about or that I took seriously at all. It was just like, oh yeah, I'll do this thing so I can get some money. But then I realized, like, during the pandemic, like, oh yeah, this is good. Like, I could actually make something out of this. And so I worked for that company for a while, like just with them being the only person I worked for. And then I realized, like, okay, instead of me saying I work for this person, I'm going to say that this is my client, and I'm going to get some more of those, get a few clients, so that I have like what is a full-time job, but doing something that gives me like flexibility and doesn't like eat away at my soul, that sort of thing. And yeah, so that's been my job since then. I am a business manager, virtual assistant, a content creator, whatever you want to call it. Actually, not whatever you want to call it. I'm a business manager. But I do it for small businesses, and I try and do it for businesses that I'm passionate about, that I can get excited about, or that I'm proud of, so that I'm like vicariously, helping the world or whatever. Like, if you're doing something great for the world, then by me answering this phone call, I'm doing something great for the world, And so that's how I, I guess, established a career, and I've been working on that, and that is a journey. Like, I am not an expert in being an entrepreneur. I'm just entrepreneuring. That's how I got my career situation figured out. The relationship situation was pretty much figured out like the day I stepped on the land. And and then really what was left as far as like when it comes to actually like establishing my life here was the social aspect. When you're an auxiliary, your best friends leave you every single year. And it's like you broke up with someone every single year. And it is so depressing. It's so sad. Because most auxiliaries don't stay to live the rest of their lives in the country that they chose, especially when it's like a random place that they've never even wanted to go to before. But I did. So yeah, that was really hard, and it meant that I didn't have any like deep friendships because they were leaving every year. I have friends, like they're friends that I made, and I can keep in contact with them. They're in Mexico, they're in Germany or whatever, and that's great. But a year's just not enough time to build something deep and profound. And that's what I was looking for. I needed friendships here with people who are establishing their lives here. And so I had to like look outside of my little bubble of auxiliaries, other auxiliaries, and other temporary expats, I should say, or long-term travelers, however you want to call that. And so I had to start like intentionally looking for friends. And like I got to a point where if I met someone who was like, oh yeah, I'm doing the auxiliary program, or there's another one called, what is it? There's like a language exchange program here between European countries. I can't remember what it is. But anytime that I met anybody who sounded temporary here, I was like, okay, nice to meet you. moving on, because it was like dating. It was, I guess, harder than dating because dating was pretty quick for me. But yeah, it was an intense experience, or it is an intense experience of like really being intentional about what you want with your friendships and finding people who fall into those categories. And then also not just that they're staying here and they they want to be your friend, but also of course that you actually have like a basis to build a friendship on. Like, do you have things in common, or are your differences like valuable to each other, you know? And so yeah, I managed to do that over time. There's this fantastic Facebook group called Girl Gone International, and it's worldwide. It's international. And so a lot of cities have a branch of this group, and Saragossa happens to be one of the most active in the entire program. So in the entire world, yeah, it's one of the most active ones now. It wasn't like that when I first got here, but it has been a godsend because I think now all of my friends that are like sure to be lifelong friends here, I've met from Girl Gone International. So I really, really value that. That made things really easy for me actually. But I think that if you're in somewhere where that's not the case, you still have to do it. Like you need people. I'm an introvert, and like, I don't want to say this without recognizing like that people really suffered and people lost their lives during the pandemic, but I will say that like the quarantine was fine for me. Like I had no problem just staying in the house that whole time. And so for me to actually realize like and acknowledge like the value of having humans around you is important and a big deal, because it took me a long time to realize that, because I was like, I could do this for a while. But yeah, you need them. You need people. And so when you move to a different country, it's really important that you establish those relationships. And the earlier the sooner, but take your time because you still want quality over quantity. And yeah, you might have to do a few rounds of that. So that's pretty, I mean, I feel like that's it. Like that's the relationship, or I say relationship, like I wasn't looking for that, but I guess like the family aspect, because yeah, with my partner came a family. And so I really was blessed to have I am blessed to have a family here. On top of now the fact that I have an actual, like my family, my husband and my baby, and my mom moved here as well. Yeah, so I've been blessed with that. The social aspect of having my community, I've built that here now, and the career aspect, I'm decided. And for me, a lot of what was difficult for me to like build my life here was actually committing to the idea that I am going to live here. Yeah, it didn't matter like whether I had a partner or a kid here. Like the idea of being like, okay, like Saragossa is like where I live now. I couldn't like wrap my mind around making that decision. And I say that because I was thinking about moving to like Madrid or even like maybe parts of France. And at the end of the day, like Saragossa just made the most sense. It makes the most sense. It has like everything I need. I'm happy here. The quality of life, the speed of life is perfect for me. Like in Madrid, I do love going to Madrid. I like Barcelona. I feel like I need to get to know Barcelona more. But like the speed of life, the energy there is just not something that I can see myself living in, you know? But even still, like I was just like, oh, like, is this where I'm gonna be? I don't know. And I could change my mind at any point, but it really took me a long time to just how do I say this? Why was it important? Why was it important for me to make that decision? Well, it's important for you to feel settled. So it was important for me to feel like an actual sense of stability and feel like I can say this is home. Maybe like within the past year, I've actually been able to say that Saragossa is home and acknowledge the fact that I will likely spend a very large chunk of my life here. Look, I still can't say the rest of my life here. but yeah, this is home, honey. Like my daughter's in school here, and I mean we have everything we need here. The city is growing too, like even on top of it being this nice balance between big city and Spanish, like truly Spanish, because I feel like you lose some of that when you go to places like Madrid and Barcelona. this city has kind of grown to fit me and to fit me and my needs, and I'm sure I've done the same, right? I've grown to like have like I like jamon now. I didn't like jamon when I first got here, or fouet, which if you don't know what fouet is, maybe I'll put a picture here, maybe I won't, I don't know. But yeah, there's like things that I used to like love and need back home in Houston that now I'm like, oh, I don't need that anymore. But when I go to Houston, I miss certain things about Saragossa. And so it's weird how now it just feels like Saragossa has become home. It's really become home, like mentally. But don't get it twisted. I'm from H-Town all day. Okay? Thank you. But yeah, it's just, I'm here now. I'm here. I'm comfy. I'm making plans for the future, and those plans are here in Saragossa. That's why it was important, because I couldn't make plans without having this big question mark in my head. Like, well, where's that going to happen? Like, are you planning to buy a house in Saragossa, or are you planning to buy a house in Madrid? Because those are two different plans that you need, because the prices, honey, the prices go all the way up when you move outside Saragossa. Or they can go all the way down if you go to like some of these small towns, which I've considered. Like in my dreams, it's so cute to live in like a small town, like with a bunch of land and everything. But also, oh, you know, like just I don't know. I've never been a small town girl, so I don't know how that would work. I'm sure it would be fine, but I don't. There, like when I first moved to Saragossa, there were so many things that I missed, and that now I have access to because Saragossa has grown. I don't think I want to go back to that point where I'm like, oh my God, there's all these things that I miss. I wish I had access to here, but I don't, because I moved to the boondocks, right? So, anyways, we'll see how things go. I'm a maña now. Maña is like the term for people from Saragossa. I don't know if people from Saragossa agree with that, but I identify who I am, so they just have to get over it. Well, anyways, that's me. My name is Keila, as I said, and thank you for watching my very first YouTube video. I hope that this was interesting to you. If you have questions, I think that that's what this video is for. Is for you to get here and tell me what you want to know more about. Yeah, so that I can tell you all the tea and just like give you what you need, and for you to give me what I need, which is comments, and for you to like this video, and for you to follow or subscribe to me so that you know when my next videos popped up and you can get more tea, right? Symbiosis. Okay, bye y'all. Have a great day.